Their favorite thing is to watch the garbage truck. And he chewed all our blinds. Teething puppies, man. So we got some snow on the weekend, and by snow I mean like temperature went down to, you know, normal for March. Anyways, tulips got watered, so that's great. Hey guys, it's Brittany from Green Bee Flowers. So I wanted to give you a quick update on the Dahlia Propagates. So most excitingly, I have begun potting up some of my dahlias. So what's really exciting about this is new varieties, of course. I've almost completely filled out that first tray of dahlias with baby propagates already, which is like, that's wild. That I think it's been like 2 weeks, and the dahlias that I've been waking up have just like, they're quite happy. And even the ones that I haven't pulled any off yet have visible eyes now, so it'll be any time, which is great because I really only need about 6 to 8 weeks before the new dahlias are going to go into the ground, and I can plant these in the ground as late as June 1st. So guys, we've got some really good looking propagates here, and it's really easy to tell when they're ready for rooting, because if you give them a little bit of a wiggle, but they'll give you some pushback. So like, I can't just easily pull them out anymore, which like this guy especially here, just the American Dawn, they're ready to go into pots. Now I have done this in 2 ways in the past. Either you can move them into a bigger container as soon as you start to see like real roots, right there. Real root, right there. Gosh, real root? Is it giving me a real root? Yeah, okay, so I would pot it up this way, but if you want, I have also been known to wait a little longer until they have well-established root lines on them. Either is fine, because once those roots are in there, as long as they have a space, you know, even if it's a pot like this, those roots they're gonna grow into that space, right? And these dahlia roots are what is going to become the new tuber. I don't know if you knew that. So the more space that you can kind of give those to grow right off the bat, the better your plant is going to be later. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just gonna pot this guy up right now into a bigger pot. And we'll get them added into the select collection of already potted up dahlias. Okay, so I use a little, it's like a 2-inch squared square. We get these from the dollar store. Again, I have been using these for years. They're from Dollarama. These are from Dollarama, and I like them because they come in I think packs of 10 or 20, and they're super cheap. They're like $1.25 for 10, which is like great. But they're very sturdy, and so we reuse these from year to year. So essentially, all I do, I use my coffee sticks for everything, but essentially I'm just kind of creating a hole in the center there. So you want to give your dahlia room, in it goes. Fill it around the side. There you go. You got a planted propagate with a label. So right now I am potting up the Magic Single. I'm potting up The roots are just a little too long now for the tiny soil blocks. So I'm getting these, bumping these up into bigger cells. I find, so the thing I like about soil blocks, obviously, is that you can start a ton of them at once. It's a very efficient way to start seeds, but you do have to watch, especially with the small soil blocks, because the roots, even with the little ones, the roots grow out of their blocks very quickly. And then you need to make sure that you're potting them up into bigger cells so that the plants can keep growing. And I've talked a little bit about the fact that I don't like the bigger soil blocks. I find that they use a lot of soil. And as we are growing flowers and not food, reutilizing the plastic trays from year to year is a good way for us to cut down on our wastes, because I'm not necessarily worried about people eating the flowers. So microplastics isn't something, I don't know, I'm not at the point yet where I'm fully moving over, where it is cost effective, we'll say that, for us to completely move over to more biodegradable options long term. Now that said, because we do, like, I'm on my probably 4th year using the same trays over and over again, they've more than paid for themselves. So anyways, I did look into purchasing a Swift blocker this year, which is an interesting one to me. I know that there's some fairly large flower farmers on the YouTube who swear by it, but it was out of stock. I didn't want to wait for it to come back into stock to start seedlings, so I just went for it. I may look at ordering it in the fall, and if I do order it in the fall, then you might see it added into my roster of seed starting stuff for next year. But for this year, we're just going to continue on with what I typically do, which is the Swift block, or the soil blocker, 3/4 inch soil blocker, and then just potting up. Now, I also enjoy using trays like this because I find watering is really easy. It's very simple to bottom water seedlings when you have a plastic tray underneath, and especially when you are doing things like dahlia propagation and you know, like stuff where you are moving like seedlings from sizing into pots. It's really helpful still to have some of these plastic options. Again, we're not at the point yet where moving away from plastic is like a financially feasible option for us. Until I get to that point, I'm going to continue to recycle what I currently have. And I think once you're able to kind of figure out, so when you can look at seedlings and know, for instance, when they need to be bumped up, the soil blocker is a really, really, really good option for flower farmers who aren't growing 8 greenhouses full of the same crop. So like us. Now, the one thing I will say this year we've been finding in our growing room, as the temperatures are going up and down in the spring, it's more difficult this year to regulate the temperature in the grow room, which is impacting some of the seedlings. So like normally the feverfew, like the root systems on the feverfew are looking great, but I will say I've noticed a lot more like moss growing on the top this year as opposed to other years. These snapdragons in particular are having they germinated beautifully. They're having a particularly difficult time rooting themselves and getting their first full set of leaves on, and I'm annoyed because I would like to get those silly things potted up this week, and I might just bite it and do it anyways. Give them a little bit more of a stable home until we move them out. And it's interesting because it's only once like it's only the snapdragons that I purchased this year that are having a harder time, and they are like mixed blends, if you will. Whereas the Costa snapdragons, which are snapdragons that I purchased, we didn't grow snapdragons last year, so that seed's 2 years old. That seed looks great. It's much happier. So like there's no, I don't know, things change from year to year. And we've been growing now for 5 years, right? I've never experienced a year where everything is exactly the same. So you know what to expect. And it's good, but it's also humbling. And I think figuring out how to prepare for contingencies makes you a better flower planner. Is it tedious for me to be potting up feverfew right now? I mean, it's necessary, and I enjoy having my fingers in the dirt. So, I don't know, you can take that with whatever grain of salt you wish. I just thought I would ramble a little bit while I'm planting right here. So yeah, so even though like the seedling, really little bitty, it's got good roots, and I genuinely think these roots just need more places to go. So I'm gonna give them more places to go. Like these snapdragons here, these guys are a month old. I did notice that not all of them were getting enough water at the back, so that might be part of it, but I moved them to a slightly cooler part of the basement, so like it's not like they're getting overwatered. But this is all the fresh seed from this year, and these snapdragons should be about 3 times the size right now. So I'm gonna work on getting these into bigger trays this week, and hopefully moved out into the greenhouse, and that should help them, hopefully. Now this here, this is the feverfew that I potted up last week, and it's already looking so much happier than it was. And so some of it, I think it's just, you know, the soil blocks get to a point and the seedling just can't get any bigger. So moving them up into bigger pots that are more in line with what they need just for their nutrient input as well, I think is helpful in the long run. So like I said, the germination is great, but they're mad. Whereas these guys down here, these ones are my 2-year-old Costa snapdragons, and these guys are looking so much better. These were only seeded a week ago. So like, yeah, I don't know. Keeps you humble anyways. Oh look, tulips. What, you've got a lot to say. Oh, now you stop talking? Oh. What are we doing? No, you've been fed. Okay, so daytime temperatures this week are going to get back up to 16, 17, 18 degrees Celsius, which means that we are going to be getting the rest of our, I guess all, because we haven't actually started putting it in the ground yet, but all of our outdoor ranunculus and anemones are going out into the field this week. It's genuinely really crazy that we are in the second full week of March now. I feel every year like we have so much time and then we just don't. And I think, you know, it kind of hit me this afternoon when I was filming, like I only have so many weeks to course correct something like a snapdragon mishap, you know, and then like we've already done our last succession of seeded larkspur, so now at this point any of the larkspur that we do plan to start is going to be for fall successions. And so like as we continue to farm year after year and we are pushing the levels of output that we are getting with our crops, I think I also forget how fast time goes and like what the point of no return is for certain crops. Like this afternoon too, I was working on potting up some Lisianthus, and expectedly so, I had about a 30% seed loss on those, right? Like Lizzie it's a tough thing to seed. So like in potting those up, I was kind of able to go through, but any mistakes we've made on the Lisianthus now, like that time to fix that has already passed. We're not getting January, February back. And so it's so important for us, you know, going forward, we really have to be very conscientious of how we are managing our time and managing our successions and really staying on track so that the flowers bloom when we need them to bloom. Because things have shorter seasons, especially, you know, when we're talking about our cool weather plants, like we get to a point, they're not going to produce blooms for us anymore. So we really are intentionally being on top of our seeding schedule this year. I've broken down everything into, you know, the 52 weeks of the year. And so Caitlin, as she's been seeding as well, has been keeping very strict, like on that seeding schedule. But now I'm also looking at next year's weeks. And so one of the things I am doing on the computer is like I have to order tulips by the end of next week, which is crazy because, you know, we've been harvesting some of our spring tulips, our crated tulips, but the bulk of our field tulips haven't bloomed yet, right? So I don't know what varieties are going to perform well this spring because we're not there. But I also am thinking about the varieties that we've had in the past that sell well. And so I'm making projections for next year and calculating the exact amount of bulbs that we're going to need in order to have 150 tulips being harvested every week from the middle of February until our field tulips come on at the end of April. So there is a lot going on behind the scenes that's boring, that you guys don't necessarily want to see, but I'm getting excited and nerdy about because it means that, you know, we're here to stay. I'm crop successioning. I'm thinking about, you know, fall starting for so many different plants, including ranunculus. Like we already have the start date for our fall planting of ranunculus in our like iPhone calendars. So yeah, so the farm management side of the farm, planning side of the farm is taken a different route this year. And I'm actually really happy for the organization and what I've learned about being organized because of that. And I think really the store and knowing what crops we have to have ready for weddings, for events, for subscriptions, and like the planning along that line has motivated me extensively to really stay on track this year. So I'm excited about that. It's going to be a good year for flowers. I'm so excited to have all of you guys along with us this year. I'm excited to get back into the YouTube videos. I've, you know, really want to track the successes and also the failures of the farm this year. So like Snapdragons 101, which was surprising to me, I might add. But those suckers are coming out here like tomorrow and they're going to get a good watering in. They're gonna sit on their shelves, they're gonna have some fun in the greenhouse, and hopefully that will save their life. So like behind me here, these are some of the ranunculus that are going to be going out into the field, the outdoor field tomorrow. They sprouted beautifully. These are all elegance varieties. I've got a little mix of everything that we have planted in the greenhouse, again, outside the greenhouse, just so we can prolong that season as long as possible. So yeah, so that's what's on the docket for this week. I'll try to remember to take video because stuff moves just so quickly here now, and I don't want to miss anything. So if you have any questions, of course, post them down in the comments. I think that's it for today's video. I hope you guys have a great day wherever you are. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.